My name is Parveen. I'm a senior product manager at a small but mighty startup called Semble in the health tech space here in London. And I have been organizing crap talks with BAF for about 5 years now. And I'm really excited to have our first ever product related fireside chat with Shane Lennox. You're probably like, who's Shane Lennox? So he is a group product manager at Hopin. He comes to us with a background in finance. He has an MBA. No reaction to that. Okay. He loves building things from 0 to 1 and working with people who are really great at what they do. And today we are going to talk about confessions of a product manager. Hopefully you get something insightful from this talk. We're going to talk about things that might be slightly controversial, or maybe you're not interested, but that's the magic of these talks. We kind of see where it goes. So can we get a round of applause for Shane, please? And I promise I'm not being rude. I just have notes to kind of I can't do one-handed text anymore. T9 words gone. Sad. Okay, so let's kick off with something easy. What is the purpose of a product manager, a group product manager, chief product officer?
I think for me, the simplest way to think about it is kind of regardless of role, product is really about business. Actually, let's start with the actual important one: customer. Right? What does the customer need? Business. What does business need? Yep. Team. What does the team need? And I think that applies. Whether you're a junior product manager, whether you're a CPO. Those three things are always important, and I think people can. There's sort of like failure modes are different at different levels, but I think maybe early on, understanding how to talk to customers or understanding how to work with a team that doesn't report to you can be difficult. I think as you get maybe a little bit further up the ladder, the whole people manager thing. I'm not sure that people should just be purely people managers and forget about the customer, forget about what the business needs, and really kind of being in the weeds of those things and the details, which can happen from time to time, as I'm sure you've all seen.
I think that's a really good point you make about no matter what level you're at, you need to be in touch with your customer. And in your ascension to group product manager, how have you found, what do you do to stay in touch with the customer as you're leading a group of product managers who are executing? So how do you stay in touch with your customer?
I don't know if you would call it an ascension, but I think it's hard, right? I think everybody can probably speak to that. It's scary sometimes. Sometimes it's something that you find yourself in a mode of avoiding. And I don't think there's any easy answer to that, right? I think you can work with, it depends which sort of business you're in, right? But you can work with your customer support team, you can work with your success team, you can work with the people that, your sales team, the people that manage those relationships. We talk to those people every day. Yet at the same time, I think you also need to sort of demand of yourself and demand of those people as well access to customers and do the hard work of building those relationships ultimately. And that of course, that takes time, because I think there are times when, success and support and these sorts of things, as much as we love them, and they do an amazing job and have a very difficult job, can also see themselves as the sort of gateway to the customer.
And I've definitely experienced the block.
Can't be the case, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you obviously have some experience of this.
Yeah.
How do you get access to customers?
I've sort of adopted this two-step process. Sounds like we're in a program, but we're not. So the first is to build the relationships with the people who sort of guard the users. Like we know in most companies, the first point of contact are your business development reps, your salespeople. Then I work in the B2B world, so then it moves to a customer success type account manager, and actually building those relationships first to be like, I'm not scary, and I will do good things talking to your customers if you let me. sort of starting with that. And then when I'm ready to kind of ramp up and do, whether it's user research or, wanting to confirm something maybe with user testing, be like, hey, remember how you like me? Let's be friends and give me access to some of your users. And I think framing it in a way that, like, I understand that this is a gift, something they're helping with. And then eventually it just becomes the norm of like, oh, hey, I need to speak to a customer who's in this segment. They're like, yeah, of course, here's this person. Let me introduce you right now. The relationship just gets a lot easier. So that's how I've tackled it.
Interesting. This is maybe weird or embarrassing, but I journal in the mornings. Just there's a couple of things that I have that I like to sort of reflect on. And one of them that weirdly gets at this, because it is often something I'm avoiding, one of the very few things in that journal is, what are you avoiding right now? And sometimes that's talking to people that, it is scary or you don't feel like doing it or whatever it may be, and like trying to work through why, why it is that you're avoiding that thing, and trying to get yourself over the hump of actually doing the thing, because everybody, it's easy to say that I need to talk to customers. Everybody knows that, but kind of like, sometimes you just need to get yourself there.
Yeah, I think especially when you're looking at, I'm sure you've done some hiring in your time. I've done a lot of interviewing in my time. And one of the key things they look for in product interviews is, how well do you know your customer? Show me examples of when you've spoken to your customers. So like thinking ahead to career progression, it might not be at the same company. So like that's a bit of incentive as well. Like, I better make sure that I've done this, but not just so I'm building a great product, but so I have experience to draw on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I think it's time to change gears a little bit. One of the things that can be maybe slightly controversial, I don't know, is there seems to be this unspoken hierarchy in product teams, and I wondered if you had a view on what that is, maybe in your experience. Are there people that maybe have more importance placed on them, or they have more clout when they're talking to various stakeholders around the business, and what does that mean for your product teams?
I can see who you're pointing the finger at. Yeah, I think there can be a thing of, of that is the product manager, obviously. In some places, maybe that makes sense in that, one of the weird things about product management is anybody who's a product manager this year will know is you don't actually like do anything in the classical sense. You don't write code. You don't, make designs. You don't call up customers on the phone. And sometimes you may spend time doing all of those things, but it's not your job, right? Your job is a coordination job. It's a facilitation job. It's, making other people better and getting people aligned. So like there are roles that you should play, right? And maybe that is communicating to senior stakeholders. However, as a lot of the other talks here have also touched on, you can't know everything, obviously, or even most things. And, for me, I like to talk about tactics. And one of the things, and there's a few people in this room that I work with or have worked with in the past, and I'd make sure that anybody that I start working with, I'd sit them down and we have a get to know you conversation. But one thing I always say is extremely important to me that you have an opinion, and whether it's design, whether it's engineering, whether it's product analytics, whether it's research, whatever it might be, both like I want you to have, I know you have an opinion.
Yes.
I want to hear it. It's really important. I think you need to set that foundation, but also like it's your job to have an opinion. This product is going to be the best product it can be, and we're going to agree and we're going to disagree. And Nico, who I work with here, we disagree all the damn time. But that's great, right? That's how you get to the right answers. Yeah. And sometimes you'll have a stronger perspective, and sometimes you'll have a weaker perspective. But you can't obviously always be right, and you need to kind of open the floor to other people and their perspectives, and give them the space as well to do that, right? You spoke to that as well. Like, how do you not just make everybody else a service to the product manager? Because I'm sure everybody's been in that position before, and it's not great, and that's why product can get a reputation that's not always, the best, I think.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And think I started at my company about 5-6 months ago now, and I can tell sometimes when I'm speaking to, especially our engineering team, that they've been stung in the past by product managers who are like, I know everything, I don't need your help, you just need to be a code monkey. And trying to have this conversation about, I actually want to hear what you have to say. I want you to challenge me. Yes, we put a wireframe forward, but I want you to rip it apart and tell me how can we build from your perspective the best next iteration of what we're doing. And that's actually kind of hard to get to.
I was going to say, is there anything like specific or tactical or meetings or otherwise that you found effective in getting to that?
I think self-deprecating humor on a regular basis helps so that people know I'm not right all the time. And actually, whenever I'm running workshops, I'm actually running one tomorrow for a new feature that we're looking at. And I have a little script for myself at the beginning to remind myself of all the things I want to say. And one of them is, I want you to tell me why what I've presented you is wrong. I want you to tell me that you could do something better. Like, I want to hear those thoughts. And it's not to stroke egos. It's not to say that I don't know what I'm doing, but really to give that permission and reiterate over and over again that I know this isn't the right way to do it. There's a better way, and we're all going to come up with that. So, setting the scene is probably
Yeah, it's really interesting. I find a lot of times when I'm expressing an opinion, I end up sometimes just unconsciously framing it as I think. I think this, not like this is. It's like I think this, and I think that can open up the floor a little bit more for
Yes.
people to disagree with you.
I think that, and this is my favorite phrase. I use it in user research. I use it in internal stakeholder meetings. When someone says something, I'm like, I don't know if that's right. But instead of having that reaction, I go, tell me more. And then just sit back and let them talk. And I often find that that's the thing that gets us to the, oh, what are you really thinking? And actually asking, oh, tell me more about this specific thing that you said. It opens up the floor for them to just say what they think and what they want, as opposed to me trying to coax it out of them. Okay. Moving on now to empowered teams. So I wonder, in your opinion, what's the right balance between giving people and cross-functional teams autonomy versus having oversight, especially at the level that you're at, where I imagine you're a bit further away from execution?
I'm not actually anymore. I've just kind of gone back to new products, so I'm very much in the weeds now. But
Okay.
I kind of spoke to this and maybe in questions and things like that. This is a topic I've been thinking about recently, but I'd love to get people's, doesn't have to be just questions, I'd love to get people's thoughts on this, but I think obviously everybody wants to be empowered, like that goes with that saying, I think, but at the same time you hear some of the best companies, the Shopify's, the Stripes and whatever, Toby Lick at Shopify, the Collisons at Stripes still sit in every product review and are not watching what goes out and like does it actually meet a certain quality bar. And so I think for me the question becomes, and that's sort of like the customer business team thing, how do you build that architecture for people, especially around the team piece? Like, does the team understand what you're trying to do? How do you communicate that to them? People obviously pick those things up in completely different ways. Some people are visual, some people do much better with documents and all those sorts of things. And I think that's the hardest. We grew so quickly through the pandemic. Hopin was like the perfect product. It was just like sitting there when the pandemic kicked off, and you go from 60 people to 1,000 people, and it's extremely hard to do. But you pay the price if you don't get that right. And to some degree, to be completely frank, we have of your product architecture and do these things tie together? Do they fit with the strategy? What is the strategy? All of these kinds of things. I do, and again, I'm rambling a little bit because there is no like exact right answer, I think, but I do maybe coming all the way back to the beginning to I think that the sort of customer business team thing applies at any level, because you do whatever level you're at need to be, I think, in the weeds of understanding at a fairly micro level, like what is happening and what's being delivered, and does it fit with the whole picture? Does it make sense? Sometimes you just have to say no, even if the team has worked really hard on something and it's just not where it needs to be, or it's not right.
I think the empowerment of teams, I think, obviously very much depends on the business you're in, the team that you have, the level of skill that's in the team. Is their capacity to learn more, to, I guess, be a bit more outward in the business, or are they still kind of learning the basics of how to write a story and how to speak to engineering teams? I think there's so much balance there. I know it's not a blanket answer, one size fits all. I get that. But I think
What do you think that word mean? Like, I mean, maybe we should find that word. What does empowered mean?
I think about it as I don't know if it's necessarily like a full Webster's dictionary defines it as, but rather I think maybe signals that you pick up on of people who aren't empowered. Like maybe that's an easier way to look at it. So for me, I've worked with a team before who you could tell they didn't feel empowered because every time they finished a task, they would say, "What's the next task? What's the next task?" They wouldn't like make work for themselves, and not that everyone sort of wants to do that or needs to do that, but I've generally worked with smaller teams for most of my career, and we just don't have the luxury of someone just saying, okay, you go do A, you go do B, you go do C, and come back to me for more work. You kind of need people to be their own engine. So I think for me, it's picking up on signals where people don't feel empowered rather than what it is to feel empowered. Yeah. I don't know. Are there any signals you pick up on?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, you can always see frustration when people don't feel empowered. I think it can feel different to different people at different levels in their career, different levels of ambition, whatever it might be, right? So people approach these things in their careers and their jobs and products
Yeah.
very differently, but you can always feel it.
Maybe that's the definition, the absence of frustration. I don't know, not quite the full definition, but yeah, like the definition of health is not the absence of illness, is it? But maybe something similar. Oh my gosh, we have 2 minutes left. That went so fast. Okay, so, ooh, okay, maybe we can have 4 minutes. Okay, I have a question about. So I love this saying: "What is easy will eventually be harder." And so what I take away from that, so for me personally, it is much easier to take a nap than it is to go and exercise. And I love taking naps. So eventually, though, that's probably going to result in, back pain and probably a lot of headaches and just generally not being able to walk up the stairs. So I wonder, is there anything that you picked up on, especially in this explosive growth that happened at Hopin, where the easy route was taken, but actually it's now harder?
Oh my God, everything. I think I mean you're an idiot in everything in the beginning, right? Which makes it. It's like the cloud. That what's the curve? The curve. I don't know. Yeah, like where you like. Um, it's like in the beginning you know nothing and you think that you're a genius, and then as you know more, you find out you're much stupider than you thought. Um, I think that like it happens with everything, especially in a product when you start building things, right? Everything it's like okay, we can build this thing, we can build this feature, and it looks simple, and it'll be really narrow, and we'll keep it to that. And it's like okay, perfect, and let's just sit over there in the corner, and it'll be fine. But it never turns out that way, right? Yeah. The customer's like, well, why doesn't it do this? This other thing, this other tool does this, and so it should do this, and then it kind of explodes, and like that's the nature of entropy, I guess, right? I think everything looks simple when you begin or when you don't know more, but over time, it gets more and more complicated.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we actually had an example. I was putting a presentation together today of what seems like a small feature that just didn't have what seemed like no discovery on it, and it just has like the most unintuitive behavior for this particular feature. And we've been getting a lot of pressure lately on our product team about why are you taking so long for discovery? What even is discovery? Why are we doing this? Isn't that waterfall? This is weird. We're agile. But actually, now we're paying back so much tech debt because that didn't happen in the first place. And for me, that's one thing that sticks in my mind of, yes, it's easy to just blow past discovery and just build something because you kind of know what you need to do. But actually now it's a lot harder because we have to fix it.
I think another one is like you never reach an equilibrium in a team where, sometimes it's you don't have enough engineering capacity, and then it's you have too much, and so we feel like we need to give the team something to do, and so we give them something easy to do, but then it turns out to be hard, or then it explodes in complexity, or same thing with analysts. I mean, it's always you never have enough product analysts. That's always goes in that direction, but I think it happens everywhere.
Right. So I've been told we don't have very much time left, and I have always wanted to conduct an interview that ended in a lightning round. So I have prepared a lightning round, and Shane's aware there is it, but he doesn't know the questions. So this is going to be a lightning round, a simple yes or no, or one answer or the other. It'll be in the question. Okay. Okay. Do product managers produce better products if they are genuinely part of their user base? Yes or no? No explanation. You just got to say yes or no.
I'll go no.
Okay. Should product managers be involved at every step of the user research process?
No, I think other people can be involved and drive it.
Individual contributor or people manager?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Ooh. I'll go individual contributors. As I've already said, I don't think you can have pure people managers.
Okay. You're going to like this one. Or maybe you'll hate me. We'll see. MBA or just learning it on the job?
Learning it on the job.
This one is specifically for this audience. Using data or using intuition?
I think I could go with data. I might not make it out.
All right. OKRs, yay or nay?
Oh boy. I mean, if you use them right, it's just another tool.
Okay. Frameworks or just do what works?
Frameworks.
Okay. Finishing documentation or just shipping it?
Oh, documentation. I love documentation.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Okay, quick solution or full-baked solution?
Depends.
Oh, classic product manager. Classic. All right, that is the end of our lightning round. Can we please give Shane a big round of applause?